every societal failure, we put it off on the cops to solve. Not enough mental health funding. Let the cop handle it.
This was nothing short of an assassination of a police officer.
Bad things happen to good people. Bad things happen to good police officers.
Thank you for joining us for this KXAN investigative special. In the summer of 2016, a gunman killed 5 police officers during a rally in downtown Dallas, Texas.
Following that tragedy and similar attacks across the nation, our investigative team decided to look closely into what led up to those crimes.
We dug into the backgrounds of the killers and found a common theme among many of them: a history of mental illness.
And today we are examining some of the most compelling cases in recent history, a system with lethal shortcomings, and the necessary solutions that could prevent future deaths.
He was the police chief of Little River Academy. He loved that town, and the town loved him.
Proceed, do you need another unit?
Not at this time.
Lee went on a road rage call.
Somebody pulled a gun out on somebody. And then a few minutes later, he had gone to that house. And at that time, I didn't think he needed any backup, but I decided to go anyway.
Hello. Please, Chief Dixon, Little River. Can I talk to you outside, please?
Yes, sir.
You driving that little white pickup a while ago?
Yes, sir.
You pointed a gun in somebody's face a while ago?
He pulled up my driveway and threatened me. He tried to run over me twice. I grabbed my gun out of my console and I said, "You're trespassing."
What we're going to do is we're going to go to court and we're going to let a judge decide what's going on.
You go get you a warrant and do whatever you have to do. And you get off my property, too.
I don't have to get off your property.
Yes, sir, you do.
No, I don't. I'm here on official business. Now don't start this.
Mr. Reisner retreats into his home, shuts the door.
3801.
I need another unit, please.
Chief Dixon, one of the neighbors, saw him kicking Mr. Reisner's door in.
Damn it, my door. Now go.
The man greeted him at the door with a 12-gauge shotgun and shot him twice in the face.
Go. You're fixing to go to jail. Show me your hands.
He murdered my friend. He murdered a police officer. Cold-blooded, like a dog, murdered him. Shot him in the face with a shotgun. Point-blank range.
And he shot him again after he was down.
While he was down, yeah.
Bell County 911, where is your emergency?
Oh, yeah, I'm here at Little River Academy. Officer just tried to assault me and tried to come in my house.
Okay, and what's your address, sir?
He pointed the gun at me.
What's your address, sir?
He tried to shoot me, and I shot him back with a shotgun.
We were getting a call in that the officer was shot. We do have the EMS started.
When I got there, I could see Lee laying on the ground on the porch. I could see his feet, and I could see that man hovering above him.
Hey! Put your hands up! Put them up! Put them up, man! Do it now! You don't move! You understand me? Stay on the ground! Stay on the ground! You don't move! I'm gonna blow your head off! Got him. I got him.
And then after that, that's when we started rendering aid on Lee. It was horrible. It was a nightmare that I was experiencing, that I was wide awake, and there's things in my head that I never want to see again.
Wake up, Lee! Come on, man! Wake up, Lee! Come on, Lee! Wake up! I just got the phone with him. Take a break. Lee, wake up, man!
Come on, Lee.
Oh, man.
Come on, man.
I just talked to him on the phone, man. Please hurry, please hurry.
Where's he shot at?
Down in the face.
We were dealing with a devil. That was pure evil, man. That's a pure evil man.
We had significant concerns about Mr. Reisner's mental health issues.
We wound up scanning his brain, and we were able to show specific injuries.
So with that said, we also had concerns about Mr. Reisner's competency to stand trial.
Was the phone on speakerphone the entire time that all this transpired?
David said a police officer pulled up the house. David told me not to hang up, and he must have kept the phone near him because of what I could hear.
Get the hell off my property. You're fixing to go to jail. Show me your hands. Show me! You better come home quick, because I grabbed my shotgun and I shot him back.
I said, David, did you hit him? Is he hurt?
Yes, I shot him. He's laying here on the porch right now.
He's laying on the porch. And I said, oh my God.
We all have a lot of respect for police officers because police officers put their lives on the line for us every day. Mr. Reisner had done that for 20 years. Got all sorts of community awards for being an excellent police officer, was active in victims organizations and in a local church.
What happened when he was overseas?
Well, at first there were no problems. He went to Kosovo where he was a border guard and helped to train police officers on the border in Kosovo and really felt like he was doing a lot of good. And then he went to Iraq. Now, Iraq was a totally different situation.
There were several car bombs, but there were several bombings at the compound that they were in. And he was knocked unconscious several times.
We're looking at his MRI here. There are some areas that are really compromised, especially when it's related to aggression or violence.
How do you think his specific mental health issues impacted him right in that moment when he shot the police chief?
He was delusional, okay, he was angry, irritable, would be set off immediately by something that would have been just a benign or insignificant trigger. He, I will say, snapped.
Officer 911, do you need police, fire, or EMS?
We have an emergency at Walmart on Palmer. A cop, an officer has been shot. He's bleeding everywhere. It's just really bad.
With a heavy heart, I have to report that we've lost a police officer this morning. The suspect took a semi-automatic pistol out of his pocket, fired at point blank, striking Officer Padron in the chest and on his bulletproof vest, and another round struck Officer Padron in the neck area.
So when you guys split up about 4 months ago, what happened after that?
Just, I felt really bad. I felt really lonely.
What does the Xanax do for you?
It makes you really relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
And makes you lose a lot of memory.
beautiful young daughters won't have a father to raise them. And that's a tragedy.
He gave his life, they gave their father, and we're going to do whatever it takes.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Brandon Daniel, guilty of the offense of capital murder.
That is the case many times. And if they are involved in a situation in which the police are called and that officer has no idea about this person's history or that they're experiencing a mental health crisis, a lot of times that puts the officer at an extreme disadvantage.
Don't bite me, you're gonna don't do that. Going to jail.
Relax.
Hold on. Just calm down. So some community members said that they felt like the lady was a danger to herself or others.
We're here to help you because of all the reports we've gotten, okay?
I don't give a what kind of reports you got.
This is somebody's loved one, and they want us to try to help them out. So one option is to go against their will, and the other option is try to get them to help voluntarily.
Chair calls a hearing for the Select Committee on Mental Health to order.
I'm the Executive Director of the Texas Municipal Police Association. Because as you said, Representative, that's crisis intervention we're talking about. It's already a crisis by the time law enforcement gets involved. Training our officers in how to recognize people with mental disabilities and training our officers in what services are available out there, you know, to funnel those folks into. I think that's the best we can possibly do from a law enforcement perspective.
We're gonna take you to the doc, all right? So you can talk to somebody and try to figure it out. It's not a big deal. But if you're not coming with us, then we need to have you, all right?
40 hours is the ideal amount of time for training for de-escalation or that type of circumstance.
So it just becomes part of basic training?
It's a no-brainer.
It seemed like maybe he just felt like he could handle the situation, that it wasn't going to escalate.
That's just the kind of person that Lee was. He'd take care of it and go about your business.
From the officer's perspective, I would like to know what people in my community might potentially be a threat.
Once you finally heard who it was, did something click?
Yes. Yeah, it all clicked. We were warned about him, about his antics.
Sit back in the car. You'll sit in the car, I'm going to take you to jail. You do what you got. Okay, turn around, put your hands behind your back.
Other officers they come to search the vehicle. Why did he even have a gun? Much less, why would he have mounted the gun to the inside of his trunk? Mr. Reisner was pulled over for not signaling at a stop sign.
Pull to the side of the road. Pull to the side of the road and get back in the car.
Definitely got bowed up and got crosswise, and frankly was being unreasonable in the situation.
The traffic laws say you will pull to the right side of the road and stop for an emergency vehicle. I pulled over. You are not. You were stopped in the middle of the lane and you sit here arguing with me. What is your problem? You do your job. Okay, I will do my job. I'm putting you in handcuffs. Because you're being irrational. I'm not being irrational. I got PTSD and a traumatic brain injury. I'm being as rational as I can.
Other officers come, they wind up putting him in the police car. They come to search the vehicle, pop open the trunk. This big, huge assault rifle is mounted on the inside of the trunk.
That's ours. Oh, that's AK.
Knowing now what we do know about what wound up happening to Mr. Reisner, that's in hindsight very frightening to look at and see that, oh my gosh, this guy's running around with a gun.
Often past behavior predicts future behavior. With these calls, we were looking a lot at his mental state and how he evolved actually into someone who would kill a police officer in the line of duty.
Get the hell off my property. I'm not getting off your property. I'm fixing to come in there and haul your ass to jail. No, you're not. Yes, I am. I'm telling you to leave. You're on private. No, I'm not. I'm here on official business.
The problem in our situation is we've got an officer from Little River Academy who's a tiny little municipality outside of Temple and probably didn't have access to those records.
Show me your hands. Yes, I shot him. He's laying here on the porch right now.
He didn't know who he was going up against. With all the knowledge I know about the case, I'm pretty sure that didn't happen. So he just didn't know who he was dealing with. But if you don't know them, how are you supposed to know what their mental capacity is before?
Right now, officers can access criminal backgrounds, but maybe not always the mental health background.
There are probably some privacy issues that you have to keep in mind sharing information like that. It's something worth talking about.
There is a fine line between that, making sure you have the information you need and not overstepping privacy boundaries. And so you're going to have to find that right balance. I hope we are able to take some major strides on that pretty soon.
To this day, people still tell me, this is what your husband did for me. This was the kindness they showed me. This is how he impacted my life.
The trooper had stopped this vehicle because the driver was not wearing a safety belt. The trooper was in his car writing the ticket. The shooter got out of his car with an assault-style rifle.
There was no warning, there was no conversation. The man got out with a gun and proceeded to shoot.
Drop it! Put the weapon down! Put it down! Put the weapon down!
The bullet went through the windshield of the patrol car and hit our trooper in the head.
Little Robert William Vetter. He always has a smile on his face and eyes like his father.
To all officers, all stations, by my authority, Trooper Randy Vetter is 10-7, out of service, and 10-42.
The man that shot Randy was Melvin Hale.
How do you feel this morning, Mr. Hale? Oh, feeling all right.
Melvin Hale has looked forward to having his day in court, and so do we.
Melvin Hale had an interaction with a police officer and told that police officer, the next time I see a police officer, I'm going to kill that police officer. 17 years ago, how was that information disseminated? It was disseminated via fax machine and tacked to a bulletin board. Not information that was readily available in a patrol car.
guy the other day. He wouldn't stop for us, chased him for about 15 minutes. Mental health guy.
Roll down the window, get your hands up!
Felt bugs on him. He said people were following him, all this stuff.
Step out of the car with your hands up!
We now have entered him into CopSync, where if anybody else runs his tag, runs his license, they're going to know that he needs some mental health help.
And that would possibly protect an officer in the future also if they entered that name in there.
Correct, the officer and him.
What is the biggest challenge of getting CopSync to more law enforcement agencies in Texas and across the country?
One of the biggest challenges is law enforcement set in its ways. You know, if it worked 20 years ago, well, by golly, it works today just fine. Sometimes red tape is a process. We make legislative moves to protect people all the time. The door is open. Now is the time to be making these moves.
Hey, gorgeous, how are you?
Yes, I'm great. How are you?
Woohoo, I'm doing great now. Well, how you doing?
When I met him, he kept saying he always wanted to be one. So the day before we got married, I put him in a police academy. And when he graduated, I was his first supervisor. It's what I've been doing for 25 years. And Lee would be upset if I just quit because of him.
The Fallen Project was our team's reaction to a single shooter killing 5 police officers in Dallas last summer, and really a wave of law enforcement officers gunned down across Texas and the country.
We didn't set out to tell a story about racism or firearms or police shooting other people. Those were really already out there. Actually, our story started with 2 questions on the other side of those conversations.
What do these killers have in common? And could the answer to that question help prevent more deaths?
It took months to find those answers and a lot of research.
reading thousands of pages of police and court records,
Turn around, put your hands behind your back.
watching dozens of hours of police dash camera and body camera video,
Scouring a lot of news reports to find as many details as possible about every single person who has intentionally shot and killed a Texas peace officer in the line of duty since 2000. It started with a big number, 76 cases.
and that number kept going up as more officers died during the course of our investigation. Our work revealed some common characteristics among many of the killers.
Criminal backgrounds, drug histories, but one thing really stuck out to us.
In about a third of the cases, the person pulling the trigger had a history of mental illness.
A lot of times it was an official diagnosis from a doctor.
In some cases, it was documented in the news or from family members.
Or police reports mentioning the shooter's mental state or simply symptoms of mental illness.
You might think, sure, that's something a lot of people talk about after shootings like these, but here's what we wanted to know. How often is that actually the reason for a murder of a law officer?
And how can we as a society keep this from happening? We discovered two startling issues that kept popping up in a lot of these cases.
Get in the car, I'm gonna take you to jail.
A breakdown in communication between agencies about people with mental illness.
And a lack of mental health training for law enforcement in the field.
Of course, we spoke to mental health experts to better explain these trends, the privacy concerns, the stigma often associated with this issue. But it wasn't until we sat down and talked to the families and the colleagues of the victims that we truly understood why something has to change.
Most people will never speak with the spouses, the children left behind.
There is so much pain that comes from such a sudden and unnatural death.
Wake up, man, please, come on.
Most people will never see the devastating video featured in these reports.
It puts you inside the last violent, heartbreaking moments of someone's life. Someone who died just for doing their job.
It's raw, and it's very hard to watch, but it's the truth.
We chose Fallen for the title of this project, for the fallen officers, and for a system that's fallen short.
We shared what we discovered with state lawmakers who know all too well our state is having a mental health crisis right now.
Their constituents want alternatives and solutions, from arrests and courts to jail, and most importantly, treatment.
There was definitely some action in this legislative session on the issues of both mental health and police protection.
But it is so clear we need to do more to make things safer, not only for police and the public,
but also for the people living with mental illness every day.
He murdered my friend. He murdered a police officer.
You're fixing to go to jail. Show me your hands. Yes, I shot him. He's laying here on the porch right now.
He's laying on the porch, and I said, oh my God.
Hey! Put your hands up! Put them up! Put them up, man! Wake up, Lee. Come on, man. Wake up, Lee.
Cold-blooded, like a dog, murdered him. Shot him in the face with a shotgun. Point-blank range.
He was delusional, he was angry, irritable. He snapped.
If they are involved in a situation in which the police are called and that officer has no idea about this person's history or that they're experiencing a mental health crisis, a lot of times that puts the officer at an extreme disadvantage.
We're here to help you because of all the reports we've gotten, okay?
I don't give a what kind of reports you got.
What is it going to take? How many people have to die before something is done?
What we're supposed to do in government is solve problems, not run away from them.
We make legislative moves to protect people all the time. The door is open. The time is now.
Austin Police? Austin Police, sir, you're doing okay?
What are you guys doing here?
Sir, we got a call. Is it all right if we come in?
I didn't call you.
Is it all right if we come in?
I don't know. Do I have to let you in?
Is this your house?
Yeah.
Is it all right if we come in, sir?
Crisis intervention training is not just to keep the consumer safe in the community, it's also an officer safety course.
So having the opportunity to experience it and learn how to deal with it in real time is going to benefit us greatly when we're in the field, I think. Is there a gun in the house?
Yeah, I got guns all over, man.
Yeah? You got any? Okay, I see you got it right here.
Austin Police Department trains for 40 hours, mandates 40 hours. Our cadets are going to be run through a series of role plays where they're put in position where they need to make decisions on what is appropriate for the situation.
And we're gonna have to take you to the doctor, all right? So we're just gonna cuff you real quick. You're not under arrest. It's not a big deal.
To utilize their communication and de-escalation techniques that we're going to be teaching them this week.
No, I actually think I think severe depression comes before PTSD.
We in the Austin Police Department know that we can't do it alone.
Third from last, you should have severe depression.
We've been very proactive in trying to get other outside organizations like Integral Care to show a different side of this job that is handling situations involving the mentally ill.
Austin Police Department patrol officers can dispatch the mobile crisis teams through their radios and request that a mobile crisis specialist, a licensed clinician, come out on scene and assess the client or citizen that could be in a crisis.
If it's okay, I'm gonna refer you to these individuals. We can't treat these people after the event. That's not our responsibility. Our job is to try to point them in the right direction.
Which could involve the person staying in the community and the mobile crisis teams following up for 90 days. Could entail facilitating admission voluntarily to a hospital or working with our law enforcement partners to place an individual under an emergency detention.
So it's not just about getting them to jail, but it's about getting them help. And we're gonna take you to the doctor, all right?
The one thing we preach to our cadets, preach to our officers every day is to show compassion in these moments, because you never know when you're going to be trying to get somebody help who is somebody's brother, who's somebody's sister. That could be our loved one.
Having information in your car at your fingertips is very, very crucial. Instead of calling on the radio, the dispatcher may be on 911. It takes a while to get information. CopSync is instantaneous. I type it in now, 30 seconds later, an officer runs him, he has the information.
The decision makers and the money makers all feel like that this already exists, and it just doesn't. There's just a lot of data that does not exist in those other databases. So all I've got to do is run a license plate as an example, and I get all the historical related to that vehicle, and any alerts that are associated to that vehicle pop up to the officer's phone in real time or to his computer in his car. Our system has never been hacked. Nobody can get to it with the exception of a state commissioned law enforcement officer.
And every law enforcement agency that has CopSync would have access to all of the information from every agency?
Yes.
Immediately?
Immediately.
Wow.
Well, I think we all share an appreciation and respect for what our men and women in blue do for us on a daily basis to keep our community safe and to serve us. And then you have a tragedy such as that happened in Dallas where 4 officers were killed, and it just elevates the reminder of what these officers do on a daily basis, put themselves in harm's way. We have amber alerts, we have silver alerts, just to raise the public consciousness that somebody's missing or something bad is happening.
So the idea of a blue alert would be to notify the public after a shooting has happened where a police officer was killed or hurt in the line of duty.
That's right, that's right. And so these blue alerts would go out to radio stations who would broadcast them. They'd go out to the text dot signs that you see along the highways, just to let the public know you need to be looking for this person or this vehicle because they've just done something very heinous and we need to bring them to justice as soon as possible.
I think the sense of history and time is something that becomes immediate to me, because if you go over there are Texas Rangers that were on horseback, and we're trying to keep peace in the town. We're murdered. There are all kinds of story behind every name. Is some kind of individual story of honor, sacrifice. One of my favorite names on the wall is J.D. Tippit, who was murdered by Lee Harvey Oswald the same day as President Kennedy was assassinated. And I always think about the fact that we remember the president. We don't really remember that a patrol officer pulled his car up there and started asking questions of the man who had assassinated the president and was killed himself. So it's that kind of feeling, a sense of time and the great sorrow and sacrifice those families have made. They're never the same. You can never put those families back together again. They're affected for generations and generations to come.
Today we are taking a closer look at the mental health challenges that lie ahead for law enforcement.
And to find solutions, we turn to the experts who are dealing with these issues every day. Jill Switzer is the Public Policy Director for Mental Health America, Texas. Dennis Wilson is the sheriff in Limestone County, Texas, and also the president of the Sheriff's Association of Texas. And Representative Garnet Coleman has focused on mental health legislation for several legislative sessions at the Capitol.
This whole project that we're working on started because of what we see here behind us, the Peace Officers Memorial. So many police officers have died in the line of duty, shot and killed by many of the people we found that were the shooters did have a mental illness and were experiencing a mental health crisis during that time. Clearly, this is something we can't talk about just when there's a death or when there's something in the headlines. And we felt like it was important to get this group together.
We face danger every second of our life. And as a rule, peace officers stand for the good things in life. We want to do the right thing. Training is critical. Professionalism is critical. Making the right decision is critical because we pay for the mistakes that we make out on the streets.
Agencies don't always communicate between each other. Some non-adjudicated information doesn't make it down to the next agency that comes into contact with someone that is having a mental health crisis that law enforcement from a past encounter might have already known about. How do we make sure that those other agencies do find that information but not infringe on someone's privacy?
I would certainly worry about information out there that compromises the safety of people with mental illness or that infringes on their rights to an extent that's beyond what other folks experience.
If the sheriff encounters someone on a traffic stop, for example, who has made a previous threat against law enforcement in another county, and you don't know that information.
How would he know? There's no way he would know.
Well, there's actually a private system that was created by some colleagues of a trooper that was shot and killed in 2000, Randall
But if there's
Vetter.
a private system, but it's not a public system, so how would he know?
But it is available to all law enforcement agencies.
And how much does it cost?
It's about $100 per officer, and the counties have to decide to fund it. Many sheriff's offices in Texas right now have it. It's called KXAN.
I think it's a good idea.
I'm familiar with the system you're talking about. It's an excellent system, but we always talk about the money, and that money's in short supply when you go to the rural areas.
I would always express concern for individual rights. People with mental illness are not all potential criminals.
And that's the theme we've been hearing from everyone we're talking about. It's not the fault of the person that has mental illness. That person needs help, and the police officers need to know how to help that person.
That's right.
And something needs to be done to protect everyone.
Well, that's right. If you treat somebody with mental illness like they're dangerous and are a criminal, or any other way that is stigmatized, we're not doing anybody any good.
It's not against the law in Texas or the United States of America to suffer from mental health illness. It's not against the law, but yet we continue to put people in the criminal justice system simply because they have mental health issues, and we don't give them an opportunity, or we don't provide services outside of the criminal justice system to make them better.
So don't criminalize mental illness.
Right.
We divert people from jail who have mental illness. San Antonio, Bexar County has done an excellent job. This is possible.
My personal belief is crisis intervention teams are the way that we should go, simply because you have a set of officers out there in the street that's been specifically trained for crisis intervention and crisis intervention training. And it's very important that those officers are able to go out there because they'll understand the system. They're not like the regular street police officer that's on the street. Crisis intervention has many, many pluses. There's a lot of best practices that have been put in place already with money that was provided in the previous years, but it's a small pot of money that needs to enlarge because all areas of Texas need to be exposed to crisis intervention teams, in my opinion.
How can we make that happen?
Well, first of all, I started making it happen with the John Metters Act, with the 16 hours, and somehow people seem to forget that at least they have, every officer in the state of Texas has 16 hours of training in de-escalation. The reason I'm bringing the 40 hours, because it's not enough. So at least if you have the officers trained in some way, you can form the crisis intervention team in any size police department. But I think if everyone is trained, then they go into the situation in such a way that they understand what they might be confronting.
Many communities that do have the crisis intervention teams, one of the features they like about it is that they partner their officers with mental health experts or community players that really help them respond to those crises happening in the field.
We need to take a step back and understand the role of law enforcement. They're not social workers. And we need to expect and fund local community services so that, as Sheriff Wilson said, there's a place for folks to go rather than the county jail.
Do you think further legislation is needed to require every law enforcement agency to create a crisis intervention team?
I think without the resources, depending upon how you deployed it, that we would have to provide some resources if we're going to make that mandate. But I do believe they have the tools already to start.
I wonder if you all believe that 40 hours of training as a cadet, a one-time, right at the beginning of someone's career, is that enough, or should it continue throughout someone's career?
The 40 hours is excellent for the academy, but I believe you have to continue to have refreshers throughout that career. You can't bank on the fact that I'm going to train someone in 40 hours. First of all, in an academy, the young cadets that are in police academies across our nation are wanting to get out on the streets, and mental health is not a popular subject with them. So therefore the training has to be ongoing and updated and kept fresh, because there's always new techniques out there that need to be implemented in the field. So if you say I'm going to train you for 40 hours and walk away from it, I don't think you'll be successful in what we're trying to accomplish in the mental health field.
What we're supposed to do in government is solve problems, not run away from them. There are certain tools that we can use to keep everyone safe and also have a better dialogue between the public and the police.
So clearly communication and collaboration is key. Thank you for the work you're doing this session, all of you, and we look forward to seeing how that plays out ahead of the next session. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very
Thanks for
much.
having us.
You can go online right now to KXAN.com, where we have posted the entire Fallen Project. Every episode in the series, a behind-the-scenes look at how we dug up evidence, plus case profiles for the officers shot and killed in the line of duty, and a closer look at the statistics behind those deaths.
And if you or a loved one wants to know more about the resources available for mental illness, we've included those too. It's all in this special feature on the homepage of KXAN.com.
And thank you all at home for joining us for this KXAN investigative special.
Have a great day.